The Galactic Empire sets its gaze on Earth, reaches its dramatic peak, as Grand Admiral Kane's mighty fleet faces Earth's ingenious defense. Human vessels teleport strategically, deploying reverse-engineered Imperial weapons that pierce advanced shields. As Imperial ships crumble under precise attacks, Captain Mara makes the fateful decision to pursue diplomacy, forever changing the Empire's approach from conqueror to collaborator. The year 3289 of the Galactic timeline. The Eternal Gateway space dock stretched across the void like a gleaming silver serpent, its massive berths cradling warships that represented the might of the Galactic Empire. Thousands of stars across hundreds of systems bowed to Imperial rule, their resources fueling the never-ending expansion of humanity's greatest achievement, a unified government spanning light years. Captain Elena Mara stood at the observation deck, her uniform crisp against her athletic frame, insignia glinting under the artificial light. The Empire had promoted her quickly through the ranks, recognizing her tactical brilliance and unwavering loyalty. At 34, she commanded the Astra Sentinel scout fleet, 12 advanced vessels designed for reconnaissance and first contact. Captain, Lieutenant Hark approached, datapad in hand. Tall and thin with perpetually furrowed brows, Hark had served as her intelligence officer for 3 years. Final briefing from command. Mara nodded, accepting the device. The orders were clear and concise, typical of Emperor Maximus's military doctrine. Explore the Sol star system, identify potential resources, and establish Imperial presence. Simple. Routine. Departure in 30 minutes, she said, returning the datapad. Is Silva ready with the new sensor array? Yes, Captain. He claims it can detect artificial signals from twice the distance of our previous technology. Mara smiled thinly. Good. Let's hope we find something worth the Emperor's investment this time. The Astra Sentinel detached from its berth with practiced precision, its engines glowing blue against the blackness of space. Behind it, 11 support vessels followed in formation, a small but lethal extension of Imperial power. The jump to hyperspace was smooth, the stars stretching into brilliant lines as the fleet accelerated beyond light speed. In her private quarters, Captain Mara reviewed the mission parameters again. The Sol system lay at the edge of charted space, unexplored but promising according to long-range scans. Initial surveys suggested multiple planets, including at least one in the habitable zone. Standard procedure: scan for intelligent life, assess threat level, determine value to the Empire. If inhabited by primitives, establish dominance and begin integration. If uninhabited, mark for colonization. The Empire had repeated this process hundreds of times over centuries. Mara had personally overseen 12 such missions. None had offered significant resistance. Most inhabited worlds surrendered upon witnessing Imperial technology, their primitive weapons useless against orbital bombardment. Captain, to the bridge, the announcement interrupted her thoughts. Approaching Sol system in 5 minutes. The bridge hummed with activity as Mara entered, officers monitoring systems and preparing for system emergence. The view screen showed the swirling tunnel of hyperspace, beautiful and disorienting. All ships reporting ready, Captain, Hark said from his station. Weapons on standby, shields at full. Standard procedure, Mara confirmed. We'll emerge at the system's edge and begin scanning immediately. The hyperspace tunnel collapsed, stars snapping back into pinpoints as the fleet decelerated. Before them lay the Sol system, a yellow star at its center, with planets orbiting in elegant ellipses. Initial scan, Mara ordered, settling into her command chair. Silva, the chief engineer, hunched over his console, his dark eyes reflecting scrolling data. 8 planets detected, Captain. Third from the star appears to be in the habitable zone. Atmosphere, oxygen-nitrogen mix, oceans, land masses. Life signs? Silva adjusted his instruments, frowning. Unclear at this distance, but he paused. eyes widening. "Captain, I'm detecting artificial radio signals. Strong ones." Mara straightened. "Origin?" "The third planet. They're organized, complex. Definitely not natural phenomena." Excitement rippled through the bridge. Discovering an advanced civilization was rare. Most species destroyed themselves before achieving significant technological advancement. The Empire had encountered only 17 civilizations beyond the primitive stage in its centuries of expansion. "Move us closer," Mara ordered. "Maintain stealth protocols. I want detailed scans of their technology level before we make ourselves known." The fleet glided forward. Engines dampened. Emissions masked. As they approached the blue-green planet, the signals grew stronger, more varied. They're broadcasting entertainment, communications, data transfers. Silva reported, amazement in his voice. "Thousands of different signals. This isn't a primitive society, Captain." Mara studied the planet on the view screen. Lights dotted the night side, clustered in what must be cities. Satellites orbited the world, primitive by Imperial standards, but impressive nonetheless. "I'm detecting artificial structures on their moon," Hark added. "And, wait, objects moving at high velocity in space. They have orbital craft." Mara faced a decision point. Imperial protocol was clear. Assess, overwhelm, dominate. But a technological civilization required more careful handling. They might have weapons capable of damaging Imperial ships, even if they couldn't match the Empire's power. "Compile a full report," she ordered. "I want to know everything. Their military capabilities, government structure, technological development trajectory. We'll maintain distance until we understand what we're dealing with." For 3 days, the Astra Sentinel fleet observed Earth, the name the inhabitants used for their world. They intercepted and decoded transmissions, studied orbital patterns, analyzed military installations. The picture that emerged both impressed and concerned Captain Mara. "They call themselves humans," Hark explained during the briefing. "They're divided into nations, independent political entities that both cooperate and compete. Their technology is pre-FTL but advanced in certain areas. They've explored their own system, established bases on their moon and neighboring planet." "Military capabilities?" Mara asked. "Nuclear weapons, orbital defense systems, a unified space force that appears to be separate from their national militaries. Nothing that could threaten our fleet directly, but enough to cause casualties if they coordinate effectively," Silva added. "Their technological development is accelerating, Captain. Based on their transmission history, they've advanced more in the last century than in the previous 1,000 years. At this rate, they might achieve FTL capability within decades." Mara considered the information. An emerging technological species with unified space defenses represented both an opportunity and a challenge. The Empire preferred subjugating civilizations before they developed interstellar capabilities. It was cleaner, more efficient. "We have 2 options," she told her officers. "We can report back to command and request a full invasion fleet, or we can initiate contact ourselves and demonstrate Imperial power directly." "The protocol suggests reporting back," Hark noted. "This civilization is advanced enough to warrant a formal assessment by the Imperial Xenological Corps." Mara nodded, but uncertainty lingered. The Emperor rewarded initiative and success, not cautious adherence to protocol. If she returned without attempting contact, another captain might be assigned to lead the actual operation. But if she succeeded in bringing this Earth under Imperial control with minimal losses, "We'll send them a message," she decided. Standard Imperial ultimatum, translated based on their most common languages. Let's see how they respond before making our next move. The ultimatum was simple and had been delivered to countless worlds. "Attention inhabitants of the third planet. This is Captain Elena Mara of the Galactic Empire. Your world has been discovered by Imperial forces and is now subject to Imperial authority. Submit to Imperial rule and your cooperation will be rewarded. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. You have 24 standard hours to respond. The message was broadcast on frequencies the humans would easily detect, accompanied by a data packet containing basic translation information. Then they waited. The response came within hours, faster than Mara had anticipated. A unified transmission, originating from what appeared to be a global defense headquarters. Attention Imperial vessels. This is Colonel Marcus Vega of the Earth Defense Fleet. We acknowledge your presence and your request. The translation was imperfect, but the tone came through clearly. Not fearful, but measured, almost eager. We invite you to establish diplomatic communications. We are prepared to discuss your proposal, but wish to clarify certain points. Please designate a communication channel for further dialogue. Mara replayed the message, studying the human's face on the screen. Colonel Vega appeared confident, his expression betraying no fear or submission. They're stalling, Hark suggested, buying time to prepare defenses. Perhaps, Mara agreed. But they're also curious. They didn't immediately surrender or attack. That's unusual. She ordered a secure channel established and responded personally. Colonel Vega, the Empire does not negotiate terms of submission. We offer protection and advancement in exchange for loyalty and resources. Your world will benefit from Imperial technology and become part of a greater galactic community. The alternative is conquest. Vega's reply was prompt. Captain Mara, we understand your position. However, Earth has never surrendered to any power without first understanding the exact nature of the relationship being proposed. We request a demonstration of your capabilities and detailed information about this empire. In return, we're prepared to share information about Earth. Mutual understanding seems preferable to hasty decisions. Mara found herself intrigued by the response. Most civilizations either surrendered immediately or launched futile attacks when confronted with imperial power. This measured diplomatic approach was unexpected. They're assessing us as much as we're assessing them, she realized. Interesting. She called her senior officers together, Hark, Silva, and the tactical commander, Lieutenant Dorn. Opinions? It's a trap, Dorn said immediately, his scarred face set in a permanent scowl. They want us to reveal our capabilities without showing theirs. Or they're genuinely interested in peaceful contact, Silva countered. Not every species defaults to violence. Hark remained analytical. Their response suggests a unified command structure despite their political divisions. That indicates they've prepared for extraterrestrial contact. Mara made her decision. We'll proceed with a demonstration of force, something significant enough to impress them, but not so destructive as to damage potential Imperial assets. She selected a small, uninhabited island in one of Earth's oceans. The Astra Sentinel moved into position, dropping out of stealth as it entered low orbit above the target area. The humans would detect them now, their sensors suddenly registering the massive vessel hovering over their world. Tactical. Prepare a precision strike. Low-yield particle beam, targeted at the center of the island. The weapon fired. A brilliant blue beam stabbing downward from the ship's underside. Where it struck, rock vaporized instantly, creating a perfect circular crater 200 meters across. Broadcast to Earth Defense Fleet, Mara ordered. Colonel Vega, you have witnessed a minor demonstration of Imperial capability. This weapon could instead have targeted your major cities or military installations. We await your response. The wait was longer this time. Mara imagined the frantic discussions taking place among Earth's leaders, weighing their options, assessing the threat. When Vega finally responded, his expression remained composed, but Mara detected a new intensity in his eyes. Captain Mara, we acknowledge your demonstration. In the spirit of mutual exchange, we would like to offer a demonstration of our own. We request your observation of Earth Defense Fleet capabilities in the area beyond our moon. No hostile action is intended, merely an exhibition. Mara raised an eyebrow. This was unexpected, and potentially revealing. Agreed. We will maintain position and observe. They're moving something, Silva reported minutes later. Multiple launches from Earth and their moon base. Small craft, heading toward a position approximately 400,000 kilometers from their moon. The view screen showed dozens of small vessels assembling in formation. By Imperial standards, they were primitive. Chemical propulsion, basic shielding, limited weapon systems. Nothing that posed a genuine threat. What are they doing? Mara wondered aloud. This is hardly impressive. As if in answer, the Earth vessels began a complex maneuver, forming concentric rings that rotated in opposite directions. Energy readings spiked. "Captain," Silva called out, alarm in his voice. "They're generating some kind of energy field. It's similar to our shielding technology, but the configuration is different." Before Mara could respond, a brilliant flash erupted from the center of the formation. When it cleared, a large portion of the Earth fleet had vanished. "Where did they go?" she demanded. "Unknown, Captain. They've disappeared from our sensors." Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts!" Hark shouted. "Appearing directly above us!" The view screen shifted to show Earth vessels materializing from nowhere, surrounding the Astra Sentinel in a perfect sphere formation. "How did they—" Mara began, but was interrupted by an incoming transmission. Colonel Vega's face appeared, a slight smile playing at his lips. "Captain Mara, as you can see, Earth is not without its own technological achievements. What you've witnessed is our phase shift technology, not quite as advanced as your faster-than-light travel, perhaps, but effective for tactical repositioning. We hope this demonstrates that while we may be open to peaceful relations with your empire, we are not defenseless." Mara felt a mixture of shock and grudging admiration. The humans had developed short-range teleportation technology, something the Empire had only perfected 3 centuries earlier. More impressively, they had successfully hidden this capability until choosing to reveal it. "Stand down weapons," she ordered her crew, who had automatically prepared to fire. "Colonel Vega, your demonstration is noted. It seems we have underestimated Earth's technological development. A common mistake when encountering new civilizations." "I imagine," Vega replied. "Perhaps now we can discuss matters as potential equals, rather than as conqueror and subject." Mara knew this changed the assessment significantly. Earth wasn't a primitive world to be easily subjugated. It was a developing power with unexpected capabilities. Imperial protocol for such situations was clear: full evaluation before engagement. "I will consult with my superiors," she told Vega. "Our discussions will continue." As the Earth vessels disengaged, returning to their previous positions, Mara called an emergency meeting with her command staff. The situation had become more complex than anticipated. "They're bluffing," Dorn insisted. "That teleportation trick was impressive, but they can't have many ships with that capability. It's probably experimental technology they rushed into service when they detected us." "Even so," Hart countered, "it suggests their technological base is more advanced than we estimated. Who knows what other surprises they might have?" Silva nodded enthusiastically. Their approach to shield modulation was fascinating. Different from our methods, but achieving similar results. This suggests convergent technological evolution, but with distinct theoretical frameworks. Mara paced the conference room, mind racing. The question is whether to proceed with first contact protocols, or withdraw and report to command. Earth clearly represents a more significant discovery than initially believed. "The Emperor rewards success," Dorn reminded her. "If we retreat now, another fleet will claim the glory of bringing Earth into the Empire." "And if we engage and suffer losses?" Hark asked pointedly. "We won't," Mara decided. "We'll continue dialogue while gathering more intelligence. I want to know everything about their defenses, their government structure, their military doctrine, and prepare a detailed report for command, encrypted, priority channel. The next week saw a careful dance of diplomacy and intelligence gathering. The humans proved surprisingly open, providing information about their civilization while clearly assessing Imperial capabilities. They allowed Imperial observers to visit Earth's moon base, a gesture of transparency that Mara reciprocated by permitting a human delegation to tour one of her smaller vessels. Colonel Vega led the human delegation personally. Mara found him intriguing, intelligent, composed, and surprisingly well prepared for first contact with an alien civilization. During his tour of the Imperial scout ship, he asked questions that revealed a deep understanding of advanced physics and engineering concepts. "Your propulsion system," he commented, studying the engine core with obvious fascination. "It manipulates space-time itself, creating a bubble of altered physical laws around the vessel." Silva, who was conducting the tour, looked surprised. "That's essentially correct. Yes. How did you deduce that?" Vega smiled. "We've been theorizing similar approaches for decades. Seeing it in practice is confirmation we're on the right track." Later, in private, Silva expressed concern to Mara. "Captain, they're learning too much." The colonel was taking detailed mental notes of everything he saw. "Of course he was," Mara replied. "Just as Hark was doing during our visit to their moon base. This is how first contact works. Engineer. Both sides evaluate, assess, learn. But if they're advancing as rapidly as they appear to be, then the Empire gains a valuable, technologically sophisticated member world," Mara finished. "Or a worthy opponent. Either way, the Emperor will be pleased with our discovery." The encrypted report to Imperial Command received a swift response. Grand Admiral Kane, the Emperor's military right hand, would personally lead a fleet to the Sol system. The message was clear. Earth had been deemed significant enough to warrant the Empire's full attention. Mara felt a mixture of pride and unease. Her discovery would bring her recognition, possibly promotion. But Grand Admiral Kane was known for his aggressive approach to expansion. Where Mara had chosen dialogue, Kane might simply obliterate Earth's defenses and force submission. "The Grand Admiral will arrive in 3 days," she informed her senior staff. "We're to continue observation and maintain non-hostile contact with Earth until then." "And then?" Silva asked. Mara didn't answer. They all knew what would likely follow. When she informed Colonel Vega of the incoming Imperial fleet, his expression remained neutral, but she detected a slight tension in his posture. "How many ships should we expect, Captain?" he asked. "The Grand Admiral commands a substantial force," she replied, deliberately vague. "This is standard procedure for formal first contact with a technologically advanced civilization." Vega nodded slowly. "Of course. We appreciate the advance notice. Earth will prepare an appropriate welcome." The following days saw increased activity around Earth and its moon. More satellites entered orbit, and energy readings suggested defense systems being activated. The humans were preparing for potential conflict while maintaining diplomatic channels. Mara found herself increasingly conflicted. Imperial doctrine was clear. All worlds must submit to the Empire, by negotiation or force. Yet she had developed a reluctant respect for Earth and its defenders. They faced overwhelming odds, yet showed no fear, only determination and ingenuity. Grand Admiral Kane's fleet emerged from hyperspace precisely on schedule. 10 massive cruisers, each 20 times the size of the Astra Sentinel, accompanied by dozens of support vessels. The display of Imperial might was deliberate and impressive. "Captain Mara." Kane's hologram materialized on the Astra Sentinel's bridge, his aristocratic features set in perpetual disdain. "Report." Mara stood at attention. "Grand Admiral, Earth is a pre-FTL civilization with unexpectedly advanced technology in certain areas. They've demonstrated short-range teleportation capabilities and sophisticated energy manipulation. Their military is unified for space defense despite political divisions planetside. They've engaged in diplomatic discussions, but have not accepted imperial authority. Kane's expression didn't change. Recommendations? Here was her moment of decision. Protocol demanded she recommend standard subjugation procedures, orbital bombardment of military installations, followed by landing forces. Earth represents a unique opportunity. Admiral, she said carefully, their technological innovation rate exceeds imperial norms. They could become valuable contributors to imperial research and development if integrated peacefully. Kane studied her for a moment. You believe they will accept peaceful integration? With appropriate incentives and demonstrations of imperial benefits? Yes. The Admiral's thin lips curved, in what might generously be called a smile. You've gone native, Captain. 3 weeks observing these humans and you're advocating for them. Nevertheless, I will consider your assessment. His hologram vanished, leaving Mara with a sense of foreboding. Kane was not known for considering peaceful alternatives when force was available. Her fears were confirmed hours later when the Grand Admiral issued his orders. The Imperial fleet would move into strategic positions around Earth. Key military installations would be targeted for precision strikes. Earth's leaders would be given one final opportunity to surrender before the attacks commenced. As the fleet moved into position, Earth's response was immediate. Their defense forces mobilized. Ships emerging from hidden bases on their moon and in asteroid fields Mara's scouts hadn't detected. The humans had concealed significant military assets. Another surprise. They can't possibly hope to resist, Hark muttered, as they observed the human fleet forming defensive patterns. Even with their teleportation technology, they're outnumbered and outgunned. Perhaps they're playing for time, Mara suggested. Or they have other capabilities we haven't seen. Grand Admiral Kane delivered his ultimatum personally, broadcasting on all Earth frequencies. His message was blunt: surrender immediately or face destruction. The humans had 1 hour to comply. The response came not from Colonel Vega this time, but from what appeared to be a council of Earth's highest leaders. A woman with silver hair and stern features addressed the Empire. We have considered your terms and find them unacceptable. Earth has never surrendered to threats, and we will not begin today. We propose instead a mutual defense agreement between our civilizations as sovereign entities. Should this proposal be rejected, we are prepared to defend our world by any means necessary. Kane's reaction was predictable. Prepare all weapons. Target their primary military installations first, then government centers. We'll show these primitives the cost of defiance. The Imperial cruisers moved into attack formation, their massive weapon systems powering up. Earth's defense fleet held position, seemingly accepting the inevitability of their destruction. Mara watched from the Astra Sentinel, stationed at the fleet's perimeter, a cold feeling settling in her stomach. This wasn't how first contact should proceed. These humans deserved better than obliteration for the crime of self-determination. As the Imperial weapons reached full charge, something unexpected happened. The Earth vessels, previously maintaining defensive positions, suddenly accelerated in perfect coordination, not toward the Imperial fleet, but away, dispersing in all directions at maximum velocity. "What are they doing?" Kane demanded over the fleet channel. "Pursuit vessels. Track them." Before pursuit could be organized, alarms blared across all Imperial ships. Massive energy signatures appeared throughout the asteroid belt surrounding the fourth planet. "Weapon signatures," Hark reported, eyes wide. "Hundreds of them. They're—" A coordinated barrage erupted from the hidden positions, thousands of energy projectiles streaking toward the Imperial fleet. The attack wasn't aimed at the ships themselves, but at precise points in space around them. Mines, Mara realized with sudden clarity. They're detonating spatial mines. The explosions created cascading distortions in spacetime, disrupting the Imperial ship's defensive fields. It was a sophisticated tactic, one that required intimate knowledge of Imperial shielding technology. Before the fleet could regroup, the scattered Earth vessels executed their teleportation jumps, reappearing at strategic points around the Imperial formation. But they weren't alone. Each human ship now trailed multiple smaller craft that hadn't been there before, drones or fighters, deployed during their brief disappearance. They used the teleportation to arm themselves, Silva whispered in awe. They jumped away, connected with hidden weapon platforms, and returned with expanded capabilities. The human attack was precisely coordinated. Their smaller vessels targeted shield generators and sensor arrays with weapons that, impossibly, mimicked Imperial energy signatures. The larger ships provided covering fire, their conventional weapons less effective but serving to divide Imperial attention. "How are they penetrating our shields?" Kane demanded, as reports of damage flooded in. "These weapons shouldn't exist in a pre-FTL civilization." Mara had a horrifying realization. "They've adapted our technology, the tour we gave them, the observations they made. They've somehow reverse-engineered aspects of Imperial systems and developed countermeasures." Grand Admiral Kane's flagship, the Imperial Dominance, suffered the first critical hit. Its main reactor destabilized, forcing emergency containment procedures. 2 other cruisers reported significant damage to propulsion systems. "All ships, concentrate fire on their largest vessels," Kane ordered. "Deploy fighter squadrons. I want those teleporting ships destroyed first." The battle expanded, Imperial fighters pouring from launch bays to engage the human forces. But here, too, the humans had surprises. Their smaller craft demonstrated maneuverability that outpaced Imperial designs, using the asteroid field and Earth's moon as cover for hit-and-run attacks. From her position at the fleet's edge, Mara watched with mixed emotions. Imperial doctrine had failed to account for this level of adaptation and tactical innovation. The humans weren't fighting like a pre-FTL species. They were fighting like warriors who had studied their enemy and prepared meticulously. A direct communication request from Earth interrupted her thoughts. Colonel Vega's face appeared on her screen, his expression tense but determined. "Captain Mara, your Grand Admiral refuses communication attempts. Perhaps you will be more reasonable. This conflict is unnecessary. We have no desire to destroy your ships or personnel, but we will defend our world." Mara glanced at the tactical display. The Imperial fleet maintained superior firepower, but coordination was breaking down as communication systems suffered targeted attacks. 3 cruisers were now operating at reduced capacity. "What do you propose, Colonel?" she asked, aware that this conversation likely violated chain of command. "Withdrawal of Imperial forces and recognition of Earth's sovereignty, followed by diplomatic negotiations between equals. We believe an alliance would benefit both our civilizations more than conquest." The suggestion was heretical by Imperial standards. No world had ever been granted equal status upon first contact. Yet the alternative was a prolonged conflict with an enemy that had already demonstrated dangerous adaptability. "Even if I agreed, Colonel, I don't command this fleet. Grand Admiral Kane would never accept such terms." Vega's expression hardened. "Then perhaps a more convincing demonstration is required." The communication ended abruptly. Moments later, a new wave of attacks commenced. This time, the human vessels targeted specific Imperial ships with concentrated fire, overwhelming their defenses through sheer coordination rather than superior firepower. The Imperial formation, already compromised, began to fragment. Ships maneuvered independently, seeking to protect damaged systems, breaking the carefully designed defensive patterns that maximized shield efficiency. Mara made her decision. "Lieutenant Hark, prepare a detailed analysis of the battle so far. Engineer Silva, I need a technical assessment of how the humans adapted our technology so quickly. Lieutenant Dorn, defensive positions only. We will not engage unless directly attacked." "Captain?" Dorn questioned, clearly confused by orders that contradicted fleet protocol. "The Empire's interests are not served by losing ships to an enemy we've underestimated," Mara stated firmly. We need to reassess. As the battle intensified, the Astra Sentinel maintained its position at the fleet's edge, observing but not engaging. Mara compiled the information from her officers, forming a comprehensive picture of Earth's capabilities and tactics. The humans were fighting smarter, not stronger. They targeted critical systems with precision, used the environment to tactical advantage, and coordinated with an efficiency that suggested either extensive preparation or remarkable adaptability. Most concerning was their apparent ability to understand and counter Imperial technology after minimal exposure. 3 hours into the battle, Grand Admiral Kane's flagship suffered a critical hit to its command center. Communications from the Imperial dominance ceased, throwing the fleet into temporary disarray. The second-in-command, Admiral Tiberius, assumed control from another cruiser, but valuable time was lost in the transition. Mara seized this moment. She opened a channel to Admiral Tiberius. Admiral, this is Captain Mara. Request permission to attempt diplomatic resolution. The fleet has sustained significant damage, and Earth's defenses remain largely intact. We're facing unnecessary losses. Tiberius, his hologram flickering with interference, looked haggard. Captain, we do not negotiate with enemies of the Empire. With respect, Admiral, these humans have demonstrated capabilities that make them potential allies, rather than subjects. Their technological innovation could benefit the Empire if we establish cooperative relations. The Admiral hesitated, clearly weighing Imperial doctrine against the reality of a battle that wasn't proceeding according to plan. What do you propose? Allow me to engage with their military leadership. I've established rapport with their commander during previous communications. We may be able to arrange a ceasefire and preliminary discussions. After a tense moment, Tiberius nodded. Proceed, Captain, but make it clear that this is a temporary cessation of hostilities, not a surrender. Mara immediately contacted Colonel Vega, who accepted her communication without delay. Colonel, I am authorized to discuss terms for a ceasefire. Admiral Tiberius commands the Imperial fleet following damage to the Grand Admiral's vessel. Vega's expression remained neutral, but his eyes reflected cautious hope. I'm listening, Captain. Both sides will stand down weapons and maintain current positions. No additional forces will be deployed. We will meet in neutral space to discuss potential resolution. Agreed. I suggest a meeting location halfway between your command vessel and Earth's moon. Each side may bring one ship and a small delegation. The arrangements were made quickly, with both sides eager to pause a conflict that had already exceeded expectations in intensity and damage. Mara selected her most diplomatic officers to accompany her, while Admiral Tiberius sent a representative to observe but not participate directly. The meeting took place aboard a specially prepared Earth vessel, larger than their military craft but clearly designed for diplomatic functions. Colonel Vega welcomed the Imperial delegation personally, his manner formal, but not hostile. Captain Mara, welcome aboard the Concordia. We appreciate your willingness to pursue peaceful resolution. The diplomatic chamber was impressive, a circular room with a central table, walls displaying real-time views of surrounding space. Earth was visible through one window, the damaged Imperial fleet through another, a not-so-subtle reminder of the stakes involved. As the delegation settled, Mara noticed something unexpected. Among the Earth representatives was an older man whose uniform differed from the military personnel. He watched proceedings with keen interest, occasionally whispering to Vega. Before we begin, Vega said, I'd like to introduce Dr. Philip Rosen, our Chief Science Advisor. He has information relevant to our discussions. Dr. Rosen stepped forward, his thin frame belying an intense energy. Captain Mara, Imperial delegates. While today's conflict is regrettable, it has perhaps served to demonstrate that neither civilization would benefit from prolonged hostility. However, there is another factor to consider. He activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a region of space beyond the Sol system, near the galactic rim. Our deep space telescopes have been monitoring this region for decades. Approximately 60 years ago, we detected anomalous energy signatures consistent with artificial structures. More recently, these signatures have begun to move, slowly but deliberately, toward populated regions of space. Mara studied the display with growing concern. The patterns were faint, but unmistakable to anyone familiar with Imperial long-range reconnaissance data. "You've detected the void swarm." A murmur ran through both delegations. The Imperial representatives looked shocked that she would mention such classified information. Dr. Rosen nodded slowly. "Then you're familiar with the phenomenon. We've called it many things. The Dark Fleet, the Rim entities. Our latest data suggests accelerating movement and increasing energy outputs." Vega leaned forward. "Captain, we believe Earth faces a choice. Continue fighting your empire, depleting resources and weakening both our civilizations, or form an alliance against what appears to be a common threat. Our analysis suggests these entities will reach developed star systems within 20 years. The Imperial Xenological Corps had been tracking the Void Swarm for centuries, an ancient, apparently artificial intelligence that consumed resources and moved methodically through the galaxy's outer regions. Most citizens remained unaware of its existence, as encounters were rare and containment had so far been successful. That Earth had independently detected it was remarkable. "This information is highly restricted," the Admiral's representative interjected. "We cannot confirm or discuss Imperial intelligence regarding frontier threats." Mara made her decision. Imperial protocol would suggest maintaining secrecy, but these humans had already demonstrated exceptional capabilities. If they had detected the swarm independently, they deserved to know what they were facing. "The phenomenon you've observed is known to the Empire," she stated, ignoring the sharp intake of breath from her delegation. "We call it the Void Swarm, an ancient, self-replicating system of unknown origin. It consumes resources to expand and appears hostile to organic life. The Empire has contained several incursions over the centuries." "Then, you understand the threat," Vega said. "And perhaps why we're proposing alliance rather than submission. Earth's innovation combined with Imperial experience could create defenses neither could achieve alone." The meeting continued for hours, evolving from ceasefire negotiations to discussions of potential cooperation. The Admiral's representative frequently objected to sharing Imperial information, but Mara overruled him, citing emergency protocols that authorized commanders to make tactical decisions when communication with Imperial command was compromised. By the time they returned to their respective fleets, a framework had been established, the Sol Accord, named after the star system where Earth resided. The Empire would recognize Earth's sovereignty within its home system. In return, Earth would join a mutual defense initiative focused on the approaching Void Swarm. Technology exchange would be carefully managed, with joint research facilities established to combine Earth's innovation with Imperial experience. Admiral Tiberius was initially skeptical, but recognized the practical benefits. The Imperial fleet had suffered unexpected losses, and a prolonged conflict would only weaken their position against the greater threat. The agreement allowed the Empire to save face while securing a valuable ally. Grand Admiral Kane, recovered but relegated to an advisory role following his injuries, was less accepting. "This violates every principle of Imperial expansion," he argued during the final negotiations. "No world joins the Empire as an equal. They submit or they fall." "With respect, Grand Admiral," Mara countered, "Earth has demonstrated they will not fall easily, and forcing submission would cost more than it would gain. The Emperor values results above protocol. The Sol Accord achieves Imperial security while acquiring a technologically innovative partner against the Void Swarm." In the end, pragmatism prevailed. The Accord was finalized, with implementation details to be developed by joint working groups. Imperial ships withdrew to a respectful distance, maintaining a presence, but no longer in offensive formation. Captain Elena Mara found herself appointed as the Empire's first ambassador to Earth, a position created specifically to manage this unprecedented relationship. As she prepared for her new role, Colonel Vega visited her aboard the Astra Sentinel. "Ambassador Mara," he greeted her with a slight smile. "It has a distinguished sound." "As does Defense Minister Vega," she replied, noting his new insignia. "It seems we've both been recognized for our roles in preventing unnecessary conflict." They stood at the observation deck, Earth visible as a blue jewel against the blackness of space. The planet that had challenged Imperial might and secured an unprecedented agreement. "You could have continued fighting," Mara observed. "Your tactics were effective. Why accept alliance when victory might have been possible?" Vega considered the question. Victory would have been costly, even if achievable, and short-lived. Earth scientists have run the projections on the Void Swarm. We would have faced them alone, weakened by our conflict with you. Instead, we gain access to centuries of Imperial knowledge and technology. While the Empire gains Earth's innovation and adaptability, Mara added, a mutually beneficial arrangement. The first of many, I hope. As Vega departed, Mara remained at the observation window, contemplating the path that had led to this moment. Her mission had begun as a routine exploration, following protocols established centuries earlier. It had transformed into something unprecedented, a recognition that the Empire's approach to expansion might need to evolve. The humans had taught her something valuable, that respect for an opponent could yield greater benefits than domination. Their willingness to fight for independence had demonstrated courage she'd rarely seen in her years of service. Their ability to adapt Imperial technology, after minimal exposure, showed an innovative spirit the Empire itself had perhaps lost during its long expansion. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had followed the same pattern: discover, assess, conquer, integrate. Earth had broken that pattern, forcing a new approach. Perhaps this was the beginning of a transformation for the Empire itself, from conqueror to collaborator, from ruler to partner. As the Astra Sentinel prepared for its new mission as embassy ship, Mara issued orders to Engineer Silva. Begin compilation of technical data approved for exchange under the Accord. Focus on Void Swarm containment strategies and defensive technologies. "And what about the humans' teleportation system?" Silva asked. "It's considerably different from our approach. The Imperial Science Division would value comprehensive analysis." Mara smiled slightly. "I suspect we'll learn as much from them as they from us. That's the point of alliance rather than subjugation." Lieutenant Hark, ever the pragmatist, remained skeptical. "The Emperor may still override the Accord when he receives full reports. This arrangement is unprecedented. The Emperor rewards success and innovation," Mara reminded him. "The Sol Accord provides both, a new ally with unique capabilities and a strengthened position against the Void Swarm. Sometimes, victory comes through adaptation rather than dominance." As Earth's first official delegation prepared to visit the Imperial capital, Mara found herself reflecting on the journey ahead. The integration of Earth into the galactic community would be challenging, filled with cultural misunderstandings and political complications. But it offered something the Empire had perhaps forgotten in its centuries of expansion: the opportunity to grow through cooperation rather than conquest. The humans had a saying she discovered in their transmissions: "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." Simple, yet profound in its recognition that shared threats could unite former adversaries. The Void Swarm approaching from the galactic rim would test this new alliance, forcing both civilizations to combine strengths and overcome weaknesses. Captain Elena Mara, now Ambassador Mara, watched as Earth grew smaller in the view screen. The Astra Sentinel departing for Imperial space with the first human diplomatic mission aboard. This was not the outcome she had envisioned when entering the Sol system. But perhaps it was the outcome the galaxy needed, a reminder that even the mightiest empire could learn from those it sought to conquer. The eyes of the Empire had seen something unexpected in the humans of Earth, not just a world to be added to imperial maps, but a civilization with its own destiny and contributions to make. And in that recognition lay the potential for a new chapter in galactic history, written not by conquerors and subjects, but by allies facing the darkness together. As the ship prepared for hyperspace jump, Mara issued her final order as a military commander before fully assuming her diplomatic role. Set course for Imperial Center. We have much to report, and much to learn. The stars stretched into brilliant lines as the Astra Sentinel accelerated beyond light speed, carrying representatives of two civilizations that had come to the brink of war only to find common purpose. Behind them, Earth continued its orbit around the Sun, no longer isolated in the cosmos, but connected to a larger community of worlds, not as a conquered province, but as a sovereign ally. The Empire had not gained a subject, but something potentially more valuable, a partner with the courage to stand against overwhelming odds and the creativity to find unexpected solutions. As the ancient threat approached from the galactic rim, such qualities might prove more important than all the Imperial fleets combined. In the end, Captain Elena Mara had fulfilled her mission, though not in the manner prescribed by Imperial protocol. She had established Imperial presence in the Sol system and secured valuable resources for the Empire, not through conquest, but through alliance. The Emperor would judge her actions by their results, and those results promised a stronger, more adaptable empire facing the challenges ahead. The Sol Accord would become a template for future encounters, a recognition that the galaxy's diversity offered opportunities beyond simple domination. And it had begun with a simple choice: to respect an enemy's strength rather than merely attempt to overcome it. As the Astra Sentinel carried its historic delegation toward Imperial space, the stars themselves seemed to witness the beginning of a new era, one where the eyes of the Empire saw not just subjects to rule, but allies to stand beside in the coming darkness.